Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit like, follow, or subscribe on the platform that you're listening to us on. You can also check out my work at the loudest.com on the planet, knac.com, for exclusive hard rock and heavy metal interviews, live show coverage, album reviews, and more. My guest for episode 187 is bassist Roger Nilsson of the Swedish hard rock act, the Quill. The Quill have a fantastic new album coming out on March 29th called Wheel of Illusion. It's being released by Metalville Records. And here's Roger Nilsson to tell you more about it. If I knew absolutely nothing about the Quill, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Just classic hard rock, I guess, in the most classical way there is. Sort of, you can compare us, I guess, to the great ones, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, that type of music.
Yeah, I'd say you got sort of what we call over here stoner rock feel to your music.
Yeah, I mean, we've been around now for 30 years, so we picked up on, over those past 30 years, there's been a lot of trends coming and going, but we stayed more or less the same, but you can't help but getting influenced by stuff happening in the music scene. So if I listen back to the earlier albums, I can hear some grunge influences here and there, and you sort of pick up different vibes on each album from different stuff. So there's a little bit of everything.
For sure. You have a new album coming out, Wheel of Illusion, on March 29th through Metalville. It's the follow-up to 2021's Earthrise. From what I understand, you guys write collectively in rehearsals. That's kind of a lost art amongst bands, but it obviously works for you guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's always been the way we've worked together as a band. I think mainly it's Christian Oriola, the drummer, comes in with sort of a sketch or some riffs and parts of a song, and then we all, the four of us, work together and just adding bits and pieces. And Magnusson writes the melodies and the lyrics. So it's very much a team effort, and it has always been that way. For this album, though, there were a couple of songs that. During lockdowns, when we couldn't see each other, we started to write a little bit, sending ideas over the computer back and forth. But once it was time to sort of get serious about recording, we did it the same way, just meeting up in the rehearsal room and just bashing it out between the four of us.
Now, did you guys get the opportunity to record the album classically in a studio with everybody there, or was it bits and pieces as you went along?
No. It's we use the same studio now. It's the third album it's the fourth album in the town where I live. So we got a great sort of working ethic with the guy who runs the studio. So it was we know each other, and for each album we just do it quicker and quicker because we're at I think what is it, our 11th album. So you learn stuff along the way. So you don't have to take sort of weeks and weeks in the studio. You know when it's good, and you trust your sort of instinct for whenever something is finished.
Ahead of the album's release, you've put out the title track, Wheel of Illusion. Why don't you tell me a little bit about this song?
Well, we wanted to start it out with something heavy and something sort of to the point. It's a classic. I mean, I've seen a lot of references to Black Sabbath, and there's certainly hints of Black Sabbath in it. But you can't help being influenced by all those great bands. But as I said, it's straight to the point. It's heavy. It's been a couple of albums since we had one of those really heavy shuffle songs in a shuffle tempo. So we wanted to sort of start out the album with that one and also have it as the first single. And I think great hooks, and there's a little bit of the guitar leads reminds me a little bit of classic Iron Maiden as well, those twin guitar parts. That's kind of fun, and it's something we haven't really used that much since we only have one guitarist in the band. But it was as I said, it's always nice to bring some new textures to each album that you haven't had on previous albums.
What are you planning for a follow-up single?
We're releasing the next one is called Elephant Head. It's being released on Friday. So I just got the sort of last draft for yet another video. It's going to be mostly an animated video this time. It looked really cool. Sort of, I don't know, sort of a nightmarish theme or something. That one is a little bit more, I'd say, a little bit more hooky in a way, and sort of a strong chorus, but it's still the Quill. You will recognize us for sure.
A lot of bands doing the animated video versus live performance videos. Who did you get to do the animation for this particular video?
There's a French guy who lives in Stockholm called Ervan. He did, I think, 3 videos for Earthrise, the animated videos we did for that one as well. And that was sort of because we couldn't get together, and sort of it was done during the lockdown, the COVID lockdowns. So we had to do sort of figuring out how should we present the album, and I think it was Jolla, our drummer, who knew him from Stockholm. So we've been working with him on and off now for a couple of years, and he does amazing stuff. I think his company is called Mass Distraction Media. If you want to look him up on the internet.
So I've heard that when the Quill writes material for an album, they always overwrite. So do you have more songs than the 9 that you wrote, and these are like the 9 best ones?
Yeah, I mean, previous for Earthrise, I think we had like 20 songs. This one was a little bit different. We sort of just decided to in rehearsals, sort of we're gonna just record the stuff we need for the album. This one, I think we had one leftover track due to time constraints, but it was really sort of trying to work everything out as good as possible in the rehearsal room, and no extra luggage. It was a little bit different. The Earthrise album, we went in and we had sort of sketches for songs, and they weren't 100% complete, and we sort of made them in the studio in a way. But this time we wanted to stay more focused, so we rehearsed a lot. So once we got into the studio, everything was set. We didn't have to sort of rearrange stuff. Everything was sort of there once we got in the studio. So this time it wasn't. I think, as I said, we have one song, one leftover, and probably released at some point, but no excess luggage this time.
Get some fantastic artwork on the cover, as you always do. Sort of this Wheel of Illusion theme here. It's got a lot going on. Who is the artist for the album cover?
There's a guy called Sebastian Jerke it's a German guy. He did the artwork for Earthrise and Born from Fire as well, and he's an excellent artist to work with. He usually we send him the lyrics for the album and sort of the main idea, and then we get sort of, I don't know, maybe 10 different sketches each time, and then it's a little bit back and forth. Doing pencil sketches, and then once we're all agree on the theme and sort of the main part, he paints it by hand, so it's no digital artwork at all. It's real. He's a real artist, I guess. And a fantastic job, and I can't wait to see the vinyl. I really want to have the vinyl version in my hands and look at all the details. But it comes from being record collectors, all of us, and sort of being kids, and you got all those cool albums when you were a kid, and you could sit around for hours and hours and look at all the Iron Maiden artworks and all that stuff and find bits and pieces. And we sort of want to bring that back in a way, with the whole vinyl resurrection. I think that's coming like full circle in a way.
Just about to ask you about the vinyl version. On the other side of this camera, I have about 700 vinyl. I know that you're a vinyl collector too. You had a little series there during the lockdowns where you brought out kind of your favorite vinyls and whatnot. The mock-up of Wheel of Illusion looks pretty cool, but sometimes the mock-ups don't match the final product in the end.
No, and I haven't seen it yet, so but I'm pretty sure it will be good. I mean, the stuff we did he did for Earthrise and Born from Fire came out really well, so I'm pretty sure it will be a strong effort this time as well.
How much vinyl do you have in your collection?
Ooh, I think around. I have a lot of CDs as well, but I think all in all, I think and a lot of singles as well. Maybe around 5 or 6 thousand different discs. It's a big hobby of mine, but we're all collectors in the band. All four of us. So I mean, we do this for the love of music, and so I mean, we're not millionaires by a long shot doing this, but it's for the love of the music and for the fun of it. And with this comes collecting records as well. And we try to put out products we like ourselves, and if we like it, hopefully others will as well.
You've just given me a good argument with my wife, honey.
Yeah,
He's got 5,000. I've only got 700. That's nothing.
yeah. I'm in trouble here. I'm in trouble here though, because my youngest daughter got into vinyl collecting as well, and my wife isn't too pleased with that. She thinks it's enough with one in the family, and now we're two.
So, what are the live show plans for the Quill to promote the album?
We're gonna start doing shows here in Sweden first, and then we're gonna playing a handful of shows in Central Europe in May and June, I believe. And then hopefully we'll be able to get back to the United States. We had a couple of offers going there. I think was early this year, but it came with a little bit of a short notice. It's going overseas nowadays is quite difficult with visas and everything, so you have to plan really ahead. So it came. We had a couple of festival offers from the US, and hopefully we will be able to do them next year. And but we need to have time to plan in advance. Touring nowadays, it's a lot different. It was difficult before the COVID years, but it's even more difficult now.
A lot of
Unfortunately,
Yeah, a lot of foreign acts have told me that the whole visa issue after COVID, it's been a pain in the ass.
yeah. But we'll see. There's always ways to work around them, and hopefully we'll sort it out somehow. Because it would be cool. I mean, the Quill have only toured the US once. Was during the years I took some years off, but they played. I don't know, about 10 or 14 shows around 10 years ago. So it's about time to come back.
One of your local hockey teams has adopted your song Stone Believer as their intro song. How did that come about?
I don't know really. They asked for IDs for sort of it's sort of both of sort of intro film and the song. So they asked a couple of local people for IDs, and somehow someone pitched our song. So they asked us, "Oh, we really like the song, but can you do anything visually?" And none of us are sort of guys working with visuals, but we found a guy here in the town where I live, and we hooked up because it was too good of an offer to put down. I mean, they play in the largest hockey league here in Sweden, SHL. So it was a really good opportunity, and it's really cool. I'm a really big fan. I see all the games, so it's really cool to see them skating onto ice to our song. It's really pumping the audience up as well. But it's been a sort of a tough season, so hopefully we'll get a sort of a good end here. But it's been a little bit on and off this year, unfortunately.
The Quill has been together for 30 years, maybe a little more than 30 years. What do you credit to the band's longevity? A lot of marriages don't even stay together 30 years.
No, yeah, and we certainly had our sort of ups and downs, but I think, as I said from the beginning, we all love music, and I think the creative part of it, it's sort of what we really like about it. We're totally different. I mean, when we were younger, we sort of socialized a lot, and we spent like weekends together and drink. And now when we're older, we sort of have different lives, and we get together and play music. But I think, as I said, that it's for the love of music. And then we also live in quite a remote part of Sweden. We live on the southeast coast, and there's not that many musicians around, and especially musicians playing this type of music that we like to play. So I think if we had been in sort of living in Stockholm one of the bigger towns, we probably would have found out other people, because you go through different stages in life. But we sort of, even I took a couple of years off from the band, and Magnus, the singer, took a couple of years off, but we were still friends, and sort of we're still hanging out and seeing each other, and was no animosity between us, and also, I mean, we had a couple of different members over the years, and we did a 30-year anniversary here last May, and we had all the members ever been in the band agreed to come and sort of did this big show together with all members, which was really cool as well. That we're still friends, and we will probably be around like 30 years from now. There's really nothing else to do here.
Did you record this big reunion show for a future release?
Yeah, we have it. We weren't able to secure any filmings from it. Really, it was really difficult. We did it sort of as part of a local festival, but we have all the multi-tracks for it. So, but we haven't had the time to dig into it yet because we've been busy doing this. But hopefully, we'll look into it soon, because, as I said, it was really cool to have all old members playing stuff from our whole career. So it was a fun night.
With such a vast catalog of material, if I was somebody just getting into the Quill, besides the new album Wheel of Illusion, where do you think I should start?
Well, as I said, we had different periods, but there's a couple of albums we always come back to. I mean, I know a lot of people really like the first album, and I like that one as well. But it's a little bit different. On the first album, we had a guy playing Hammond organ and a lot more keyboards on that one. But then the second album is probably the one that sold the least, but it's called Silver Haze. But that was the one where we sort of found our sound as a 4-piece, and sort of going from the first album is a little bit more, the songwriting is a little bit different, but the second album was a lot more riff oriented, and I think that was when the whole Stoner tag came as well. It was released in 98, 99, when the whole Stone Rock movement started to sort of make advances. And then, of course, I'm really fond of Voodoo Caravan as well, the third album. But they're all good in a way. I don't think we had any real stinkers. There's a couple of where, as a musician, you always sort of, the mixing didn't sort of came out the way we envisioned it. And Tiger Blood, I have a hard time listening to, because I think there's some great songs on that one, but we were never pleased with the mixing of that one. Sort of probably one that we should remix one day. But then on the other hand, I hate when other bands do that. I think it is what it is, and it's sort of a time capsule of where we were at the time.
Do you have any other music projects that you work on besides the Quill? I know that Christian has Circus Pritz.
Yeah, Christian has Circus Pritz, and Jarl is playing with Electric Boys and has been doing that for quite a few years. And I do a lot of local stuff here. I've always been sort of a guns for hire bass player, nothing really doing everything from playing in blues bands to cover acts and stuff. I had a couple of 20 years ago, I did a lot of stuff I played with Arch Enemy and Spiritual Beggars. I did stuff with Firebird as well, but it's difficult when you have sort of a day job as well, and sort of going away on tour for too long. So I tend to stay here. I'm getting a little bit, with age, I'm getting a little bit, I don't want to go on tour for too long. I enjoy staying at home and listening to my records.
So before I let you go, what is the origin of the band's name, The Quill?
Yeah, you're not the first one to ask, and I wish I had a great answer for you, but no one knows. It's sort of long lost in time. I mean, Christian and Jarl has been the drummer and guitarist. They've been playing together since they were, I think, 10 or 11 years old. They started out in the mid 80s. And they had a sort of an early version of the band, and they were called Quill with just one L and before. And they even did a couple of singles. But then that when around the time when I got in the band and it got a little bit more serious, we had to have a name that means something. So we just added an extra L at the end and the in the beginning. But I don't know really where it came from at all. And I asked them as well, and no one knows. It's we're getting too old, and sort of the Alzheimer's is just about setting in.
Well, Roger, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new album by the Quill is Wheel of Illusion, comes out March 29th through Metalville. Another fantastic record. I'm a fan, and I know everybody else that listens to it is going to be a Quill fan afterwards.
Yeah, cool. Hope you enjoy it, and thanks for your time.
Once again, I want to thank Roger Nilsson of the Quill for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, Wheel of Illusion, out on March 29th through Metalville Records. Head over to your favorite music streaming app, take a listen to what's available. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy, support the artist. For all things The Quill, head over to their official website, thequill.se. I also want to thank Nathan T. Burke and Metalville Records for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.